Ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about Lies of P. Lies of P is the newest Souls-like made by Neowitz, or at least it's the newest until Lords of the Fallen comes out on the 13th. Now, I'm currently a nobody on YouTube, so I had to wait like everyone else to be able to play Lies of P. With that being said, we have made great strides over the last month. I have received a ton of positive feedback from you, the community, and honestly, I can't thank you enough for the support. If you're new here, I'm trying to hit 1,000 subscribers. I'm going to do a giveaway of 3 $100 gift codes to the platform of your choice. All you have to do to enter is be subscribed to the channel. Once again, I really appreciate it, and honestly, I cannot thank you all enough. Now, to start off, I'm just a regular dude that loves playing Dark Souls, and I really enjoy making videos, playing, and talking about these games with you all. Please comment down below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Starting off with the art style and the premise. Lies of P makes it very clear from the very beginning that Bloodborne was a heavy influence on the game. It has a 20th century Victorian era feel to it, as well as the idea that all the enemies have gone mad and you must fight and survive your way to the very end of the game. From a polish standpoint, Lies of P is absolutely stunning. This is by far the strongest part of the game in my opinion. I personally didn't run into many bugs or glitches, which is refreshing considering most games nowadays require multiple patches. I'd much rather a game get pushed back as opposed to a developer releasing an unfinished mess. Story and side quests progress very similar to what we know from Souls games, but I would say the dialogue and progression isn't nearly as vague. It's slightly more straightforward. The game is also very linear. Shortcuts are present, but the world is very narrow and corridory. Before jumping into the combat, which is going to be a very big topic of discussion, I wanted to talk about the weapons for a second. I think the idea they had to mix and match weapon handles and blades was genius, but I also feel like you didn't get enough upgrade materials early to really test out multiple combinations. At a certain point, you gain access to boss weapons, and they're just significantly better than anything I had access to otherwise. If they gave you the ability to buy early upgrade materials sooner, to test out different weapons, I probably would have spent more time mixing and matching for what I enjoyed the most. But as it was and the way the gameplay was, I just picked a fast weapon and I went with it. Next up is the combat. I want to start off with saying all my issues and gripes I have can be fixed with patches, and I don't think any of them are necessarily game breaking. Lies of P is most similar to Sekiro. It's parry driven, and the Legion arm is basically the shinobi prosthetic. I finished the game yesterday as of recording this, and as polished as the game is, the best way I have to describe the combat would be janky. The biggest reason I say that is there are so many enemy attacks that have a massive wind-up window, extremely long execution, mixed with super fast successive attacks. That paired with the over-aggression, little downtime in between enemy attacks, random difficulty spikes, zero poise, and an extremely tight parry window can make it much harder to traverse throughout the game. So breaking this down, I feel like most of the jankiness comes from the massive wind-up attacks. Most, if not all, the puppet attacks have some sort of massive wind-up in their combo. Along with the lack of downtime in between attacks, it makes it difficult to navigate enemy combos at times. In Sekiro, the combat felt very much like a dance. It had a rhythm to it. In Lies of P, I personally don't get that feeling that there's any sort of rhythm to the combat. It feels very sporadic and super aggressive. Because of the aggression of the enemies and the fact that you take chip damage while blocking, it makes the perfect guard super important, and the timing just seems a bit stingy. I think if they made the window a bit wider, it would make the combat feel significantly better. I want to move into the difficulty spikes and lack of poise next. Most enemies you encounter are fairly easy to deal with, but the game has random enemies throughout that have significantly larger health pools, along with dealing tons more damage. I went the technique route for my first playthrough, mainly because I wanted a fast weapon that could get some attacks in, but hopefully get out of the way of the enemy's next combo. Larger weapons done more damage, but when you have zero poise, it made it easy to get knocked out of attacks repeatedly. The Fable Arts attacks should have some level of poise, and I think in the patch they claim they improved the ability to get Fable Arts attacks off, but I continue to get interrupted when trying to use Fable Arts. Now, maybe strength weapons would allow some level of poise when using Fable Arts. I'm not really sure. If you know, please put that in the comments. I'd love to know. I will say that I didn't use the Legion arm very much, and that was probably a mistake, but the arms took time to charge whatever special function they had, and I felt it better to use that time in getting attacks in because of the aggression of the enemies. Also, I'm not sure why, but my stamina regeneration was super slow and that was frustrating. Maybe I was doing something that caused it. Let me know in the comments if you know the answer to that. The last thing I want to touch on is combat related, but it's more quality of life. And that's the fact that you have to spend resources to improve combat defensive effectiveness, for lack of a better term. And what I mean by that is spending your quartz to improve your dodge or give your player the ability to get up after being knocked down. There was a specific fire enemy in the game that would knock you down and then proceed to smack you until you died. And it's frustrating that you have to spend resources on a skill to avoid certain attacks that should be native to gameplay. I know I've went on a bit of a rant in this video, but I actually enjoyed the game and I think the developers will make the right fixes to improve the gameplay. As a veteran of the genre, I didn't think it was too awful bad, but I think newer players would struggle and it could turn them away from playing other games in the future. We want to make sure our player base is always growing so as many people as possible can experience these amazing games. If I had to give it a rating, I'd give it about a 7 out of 10. I did think it was pretty good, but some of these things I've talked about I feel like does hold it back. If you have Game Pass or you have the extra disposable income, I'd say give it a try. But honestly, if you have to pick between Lies of P and Lords of the Fallen, personally, I would recommend Lords of the Fallen despite not playing it yet, but so far everything I've seen looks like it's going to be amazing. I plan on doing a bunch of videos on Lords of the Fallen, so if you're interested in that, please consider subscribing to the channel. Or if you want to have a chance to win one of 3 $100 gift codes, subscribe for that as well. If you want to check out my playthrough of Lies of P, I will have it linked in the description. I appreciate everyone checking out the video. Thanks for all your support, and I'll catch you on the next one. Later.